Right. We are good to go.
Awesome.
Yay. All right. Welcome everyone to Warrior Women in Business episode number 36. It's been quite a while since you've heard from me. With everything that's been going on with COVID, our last Warrior Women in Business episode number 35 was amazing. We interviewed Dawn Orlando, who is actually a Warrior Women in Business partner, music business partner in New York City. If you missed that episode, we talked all about what it is like to own a recording studio in New York as a woman for 30 years when it's all men. So it's a pretty amazing episode if you missed that. And if you don't know who I am in Warrior Women in Business, I am Jasmine Sandler. I'm the creator and host of Warrior Women in Business, which is a media company that supports really the career development of warrior women in business and in the arts. I also own JS Media, and as a part of that, JSM for Artists. Those of you that know me, I'm a musician, and I have a real passion for supporting a lot of women that I personally know that struggle to build a real career, either as a general performer or as climbing up the ladder to become executives in the music and entertainment businesses. And so I have been doing a lot of work to help women, over the years. And most recently, Warrior Women in Business has been working to actually expand into Los Angeles, which is where I'm sitting right now. We joined the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce. We're very involved now. We're looking to help women out here again, build out their careers. And so I have been bugging Jeannine Davis D'Addario, amazing CMO from Guitar Center, for like a year or so to be on my podcast, because I think in my travels and in my research, I rarely find women that really are kicking butt in the music business industry, especially in the retail industry. I think it's tough. So I've asked Jeannine to be on, and luckily she said yes. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Jeannine's background, what she does at Guitar Center, the initiatives that Jeannine and her team support in helping women really build careers in this industry. So I'm going to give a quick bio. And as many of you know, when I give bios, they're very short because I don't want to butcher them. But I will just read her bio, and then she's welcome to expand on this a little bit. So Jeannine is a senior VP CMO, senior VP of communications and CMO for Guitar Center. She assumed the role in August 2017, and she's responsible for the organization's marketing, branding, communications, and customer experience. She honed her marketing skills as the interim CMO for Applebee's, which actually I love, and CMO for Whole Foods, also another place we love in New York, and for Stanford Medicine. Her career has included executive stints at, I think, honestly, major companies, Walt Disney, Pepsi, Coors, and so on. She has her MBA from UC Berkeley, and for any of you that know me, I was just in San Francisco. My company manages the marketing for the San Francisco and Berkeley marathons. So very happy that you're here. And she also did postgraduate work on the East Coast, the Yale School of Management. So welcome, Jeannine, to Warrior Women in Business.
Thank you, Jasmine. That's so kind of you. There's nothing I can add to your um, recap of my bio, except to say that I'm not a musician now, but I started back in high school and college, and was in the marching band and then the symphony. So I'm a band geek by nature. So that's not something you're going to see in my resume, but music is very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with band geeks. I grew up getting dragged to symphonies and I hated it. And then I realized later in life that I was a very, very lucky person,
Yeah.
because I think music heals and it should be a part of everyone's life, right?
It's also such a community building industry. I look at just my stints in school based music programs. I have friends for life that grew up in that industry together, and so it really is about something that brings people together.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about, so the first thing that I noticed is your background. Because my background's from IBM, going into all these things, and I rarely find women executives. I think they're far and few between. They're usually on my podcast that have this type of background that brings this corporate background into a different industry. And I think it's generally very compelling. So can you talk a little bit about talk about your background more than my little bio statement. It seems like you're expanding across multiple industries. So how is the music business, or what you're in, which is music retail, right, industry, different from your background? And if you could talk a little bit also about how you've kind of leveraged those previous skills into this business, would be great.
Sure, happy to do that. So, looking at my career, I really did start out in the beverage business, with beer and then soft drinks. And what I learned along the way isn't just about that industry, but it's about really good marketing and communications, really good business management skills. And I've applied those consistently across every role that I've had. I believe that, if you can run a business well, if you can, if you have that skill set, if you have that marketing capability, you can apply that to any industry. Now, not every industry thinks that. They look for, kind of the
Specific.
right person. But if you have the skill set, you can bring new things to it. And I'll give you a really good example of that. When I was at the Walt Disney Company for 10 years, and I knew that it wasn't likely that I was going to become CMO of a 200,000 employee company.
Yeah, a little large.
And I grew my career tremendously there, but I wanted more of a general opportunity, general management sort of CMO level. Stanford reached out to me, and what Stanford Medicine was looking for was not somebody who had healthcare experience. They were looking for really strong business acumen, really strong communication skills, really strong brand building, and because they felt that they needed somebody to break the paradigm, to think
Yeah.
about healthcare in a different way. And I applaud that. It really gave me that opportunity to kind of apply skills in a new industry, and they encouraged it. So I've kind of taken that with me. Now here I am in the music business, and I will tell you what is so compelling about this business is you go back to what I said early on about being a band geek. This is the ultimate opportunity of self-expression. You
Absolutely.
know, when you're talking about healthcare or even grocery, you're really not talking about, consumers using your product to do something amazing. We have that in this business. We are a retailer of, musical gear. We are a lessons provider. We're a rental service. But all of that is about empowering people to develop their skills, to be able to do their own expression, to use music as a solace, to use music in a way that works really for them and what they want to achieve. That is really compelling about this business.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, I think what you said about healthcare to me is interesting because in my business, most of my clients have been in healthcare. And I find companies that are open-minded, I guess the key word is, to change and innovation by bringing in executives that might have a different background, but that have a process, and they kind of understand from a different perspective and can bring a new angle to things.
Yeah.
In my own experience, certainly helps companies excel. And I think, to your point, music as a musician is a creative expression, right? So I think if you're the CMO of a music company, they should want creativity, they should want innovation, outside of the box thinking, although still following corporate processes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that makes a big difference. So I actually, not on my question list, but I wanted to tackle community because you said that, and I was like, okay, like a little bell went off in my head because community is so important. So can you talk about how you and maybe your team develop community both inside of Guitar Center and maybe some of the neighborhoods that you work with, kind of across the nation, and how does community work and how does it support your customers?
So I would tell you at the core of what we do, it is about a community built to support musicians. So if you think about our stores are retail, stores, of course, and they sell gear and they have lessons and all of those things that happen. But if you think about how many times people just come to hang out in our store, the
Yeah.
experience that happens in
Yeah.
our store, it is not uncommon to walk into any of our stores and see multiple people, talking to each other, hanging out, looking at gear, picking stuff up, playing it, and having that experience. I've seen it happen where somebody will pick up a guitar and be playing something, and somebody, not too far away with a drum set will start, coming in at
Yep.
the beat. And so you see that all the time. So it's very, very natural and germane to our business. But if you think about communities that we create, one of the things we've spent a lot of time as an example is on lessons. So getting that learner who wants to and aspires to be a musician, set up with an instructor, with an ecosystem that helps them learn and grow, that builds that relationship with other lessons customers, other learners, other instructors. We do a lot with social media to support our community groups, to answer questions, to help people get, move forward. We use a lot of our gear advisors in our stores and in our call centers to do reviews, to talk about product within our social and on our e-commerce. And it really is about bringing everybody together to have an opinion and share. It's funny, when I first started in the music business, or the MI business, I realized very quickly that because it is a creative business, everybody has an opinion, and everybody believes that their opinion is the right one. And so,
Welcome to the world of artists.
right. And I love that. And so there's so many different ways to look at things. And I think that is the core of community. It's like, well, here's what I did. Here's how I did it differently. Here's how I tried it. And somebody say, no, 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 you shouldn't do that. Here's what you should do. And I love that dialogue that goes on, because out of that comes innovation. And out of that comes new sounds and new creations. And so I love that kind of camaraderie of this industry.
Yeah, and I have to say that I am an example of Guitar Center because I had my first, I'm a singer now and a songwriter, but anyway, so I started my career, my music career, and I think every musician should say that they have a music career at Guitar Center, taking a guitar lesson, which led to the singing, which led to other things, which led to community.
Yeah.
And it really was, that was my first instinct, actually, was all about actually safety, like knowing that, oh, this is a retailer, they have professionals, they know what they're doing. I'm going to feel comfortable, even if I don't at that time, don't know what an Eastern is, right? Like, you're okay doing that. And I feel that it's very embraced. And I also feel that, it's great that it's part of your mission, and it's not so much I'm a retailer. I love that you talked about the kind of like proverbial jam that I've also witnessed at Guitar Center as in terms of community building. So I think that's really important. And I think it's important for the musicians out there to know that there is a community that is supporting them in that way.
Well, I'm proud of you for taking lessons with us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we have a community of, lessons instructors that are best in class. At a minimum, they have an associate's degree in music theory, all the way up to PhDs in music theory. We have, Emmy award winning and Grammy award winning and Tony award-winning musicians teaching in our stores. We have the drummer from the Doobie Brothers teaching drums in one of our stores.
Out of here. I have to visit that store.
Right. The capability that comes and the sharing of that knowledge is really a wonderful part of, the lesson side of our business.
Yeah, I think that I think is more of the human point, right? Because you can just go in and buy something and leave. And that doesn't really, that's not going to build the community.
Right.
And I love that you're doing that. Okay. So what are some specific challenges about being, I ask all my guests this, of course. What are some specific challenges you can point to about being a woman in this particular industry versus others?
Yeah. I will tell you, I think that there's I'll call it a misbelief or a unproven fact, that people believe that the music industry, at least the music industry we service, is predominantly male. The reality is, Guitar Center is a company made up of multiple brands. So we have not only Guitar Center stores and Musician Friend online, but we also have Music and Arts, which is part of our company. And that really focuses, that business, it's retail and e-commerce and education sales, focuses heavily on band and orchestra, focus very much on a lot of school education. We do more school rentals. In fact, rental season's going on right now. We do more school rentals of instruments than anybody else. We have instructors. We do repair, refurbishment for all of those school instruments. And so when you look at the music industry as a whole, and it includes that band and orchestral side and the symphonies and marching bands and all of that,
Yep.
the business is truly 50-50 male and female.
Mm.
And so where we're, a little bit heavier concentration of women in that, band and orchestra side versus what we call the combo side, but growing significantly. And women are a huge force in this business. And from the outside, I'm not so sure that everybody realizes that.
Yeah, they don't.
And so we're trying to find ways in our marketing, our messaging, in our stores around supporting women musicians. So we've been very assertive with building relationships with women in the industry, using them in our full-on advertising, just like we would with anybody else. We've used amazing artists like Nita Strauss and Courtney Barnett and Her and Joan Jett and Yola. And all of these artists really are creating new sounds and building, musical innovation. And so we want to feature everybody in the industry, all of the diversity in the industry. And I think that is a change that we've made in kind of how we position Guitar Center. It really is about every genre, every individual who wants to make music is really who we support.
Well, I love that, obviously, as a woman that produces events to support women. And I think that's very important. I'm just thinking about, so this past weekend, doing the marketing for the marathon, what I thought was important is the first, I think, ultra woman runner who's crazy and runs 52 miles. And it's just, they're nuts. But she came in and they made such a big deal out of it. And I think listen, it's awesome. But at the same time, it would be nice if we didn't always have to say, oh, well, a woman won and it's just such a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like, we're all human beings. So I love what you're talking about. And I'm very happy to hear that, actually, the advancement of women and opportunities for women. And I think also women by nature, I mean, you could correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think that we are by nature creative people. And I think that lends the opportunities to working in the music industry more, right?
Well, I would tell you, I'm a mother of a 22-year-old who just got out of college.
Uh,
And I always think there's a lot of in my career where I was the first woman that did this, the first woman that did that.
yeah.
And I look forward to the day when my daughter isn't the first because it's just a normal course of action. That is what I hope for. And I will also say, we need to propel each other. And I will also pitch to your whole audience. I have job openings. There's lots of job openings here. Apply. Go on our website. Go to Guitar Center Careers on LinkedIn. Apply for these jobs. We want you in our business. I look at women in leadership as sometimes we think we have to know everything.
Mhm.
And so we won't apply for a job unless we are 99% checking every box. Men don't think that way. Men apply with their 60%. Proven fact, 60%, yeah, I'm good, I can do it. Don't let that dissuade you. Look at the opportunity. Can you learn it? Can you pick it up? Can you aspire to it? Go for it. Because that's how women get into these roles, is we've got to support each other. And we've got to be willing to take a chance that we can do the work.
Oh, absolutely. So yesterday I had my first meeting with the Beverly Hills Chamber Women's Council. Jeannine, they're awesome.
Yeah.
And I loved that they were, because to me, I started Warrior Women in Business to really not just say it, but do it. Like, I'm very action, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to support other women, do it. And I felt that across the board in that room, all of them really wanted to support, and they said, this is what we do every month, and it blew me away.
Wow.
I don't think it's hard for us. I think it's just a matter of, it's honestly just a matter of doing it,
Yeah.
Like you said, to the men, they don't have that obstacle in their way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of women put obstacles in their own way. So I love that there are job opportunities at Guitar Center. There's plenty of Guitar Center locations in New York. I think everybody should apply.
Well, and for anybody who's interested, not only in marketing, which we're on the West Coast, we're in Los Angeles or Thousand Oaks.
Right.
But I would also tell you that we have 19 store manager openings.
Oh,
And I would love to see women in those roles. So please, take a look at what's out there. We want you. We want you in our company.
wonderful. So in social media, we'll put links and things to that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's move on. All right, current and future trends. Okay. Some of the things that just anything that you think is a kind of trend for those in our audience that are in the music business industry. They're not all in retail, right? But just some trends and futures that you can point to that might be happening that could create other career opportunities for women in the industry. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So some of the trends that we're seeing, there's a couple that we're actually really activating against. One is the explosion of women playing guitar. You know, we are seeing more growth in guitar sales from women than I think we've seen in a long time. And that's not just acoustic guitars. That is, you know, solid body, electric,
Yeah.
and legacy brands. And so and in speaking with our vendors like Fender and Gibson, they're seeing the same thing. We believe that there is a resurgence, if you will, of interest in guitar playing overall, but predominantly happening with women. So there's definitely opportunity there. Another big trend that we're seeing that is in the music business as a whole that is equal, you know, to anybody, but it's certainly an opportunity, and that is we're seeing more independent production of people's music.
Oh, right.
So more, you know, setting up home recording capabilities, recording and producing your own music, streaming your own music, doing it without a label, you know, really taking advantage of that opportunity. It is a money-making opportunity for people.
Huge.
Seeing it as, you know, just a tremendous amount of growth in that, you know, the technology has evolved. It's much easier to work with. Some of the Grammy Award winning, you know, records over the last couple of years have been produced in bedrooms, in
I know.
bedroom studios.
Yeah.
So it is the opportunity to produce your own music has never been easier. We're seeing it explode. The ability to promote your music into streaming services and social media exploding. This is all opportunity for savvy musicians to take advantage of and begin to be your own publisher. Take control of your creative and your craft and use it as an income source.
Yeah, I love it. So in my other company, JSM for Artists, we do a lot of that working with musicians. But one thing in all those facets, but one thing that I've noticed, which I'm personally excited about, is I've hired some female sound engineers for some of our shows.
Yeah.
And I was so honestly, Jeannie, I was so excited. I was like, hey, you're a sound engineer?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that field for women is wide open.
Wide open.
And also, like, I think because, you know, there's like in New York City, we have, like, I'm not there now, but I've worked with the Mayor's Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mayor's Fund has a division of entertainment that supports, you know, that supports women in production of events.
That's awesome.
And all those types of jobs. So I feel like women need to start looking at that. But to your point, understanding the gear and how to use the gear. And I think that your company has a lot of, you know, not just the products, but I think resources for them to understand how to use that. Right.
Well, and even in two of our stores right now, and soon to be more, in the Union Square store in New York and our Las Vegas stores, we're actually teaching recording sessions. We're teaching people how to self-record. So we have group lessons that are set up, you know, every week. There are people, about 18, 20 people come in.
Yeah.
We walk them through the gear. We walk them through the software. We walk them through how to get started. And we're modeling that. We're testing that out in those stores to build the curriculum because we think there's an opportunity to do that broadly across the country.
Where can people find out about that? Do they go on the website, or is that
You can go on the website and search our two stores, Union Square in New York, when you look at stores, and you can go there and find info. And you can also see it on the Las Vegas store.
Okay, wonderful. We'll put that in the chat too, because I think that's really, really important, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know about that opportunity. So that's
and we're looking at, as we refine the curriculum, we're looking at expanding that across more stores.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's talk about some things you've learned in this position, like specifically, that you think might help other women in the music business industry. It doesn't need to be retail. but that are looking, and believe me, because involved with women in music and all these other organizations, right? So there's label people, there's people in sync,
Yeah.
whatever, emerging. Some
Mhm.
things that you've learned that you could share that might help them, or some like action steps as they're building their careers. They could be older, they could be younger. It doesn't really
Sure.
matter.
So I'm going to talk more broadly just about business in general versus just the music industry because I think this applies to both.
Wonderful.
There's a couple of things that I have started to observe and have begun to kind of coach some of my team members on, and I've seen this over my career in general.
Hmm.
We have to take the time to work on our visibility, to market ourselves in our company. And I say that because I see women who are doing amazing things, who are, coming up with ideas, who are solving problems, who are doing deeper analytics, and they do the work and they get their head down in the work and
Yeah.
they deliver it to the boss or to whoever, and it ends there. And what I'm trying to encourage women in our organization and any organization is take 5% of your time and work on your visibility. Share your work. There's nothing wrong with sending it to your boss's boss or your boss's boss's boss and saying, hey, this is really interesting. I thought I'd share this with you. Here's a couple of things I noticed. It's helpful to the leaders who may not see that detail. It's helpful for your leaders to hear your voice. If you run into somebody in the hall, say hello, tell them what you're working on. Take those opportunities to market yourselves within
Yeah.
your company and outside your company. It so matters. Your visibility so matters.
Yep.
And it's really, really, really important now with everybody doing hybrid, remote, work from home, what have you, is you are losing those opportunities if you just do your job, show up on the Zoom call. You have to
Yeah.
figure out, how do I make sure that my voice is heard, my contributions are seen, and how I'm considered is meaningful. Um, it's more important to do it all the time than just at review time, and certainly you have to be planful about it. And I see it across organizations constantly where women really aren't taking the moment to build their capability, to market themselves. And I know everybody's thinking, oh my goodness, that's so hard. I don't want to take my own horn. I don't want to be a brown noser. But let me tell you, your male competitors do it naturally as a point of course. You have to be planful about it.
Yeah.
And if we see that happening as women leaders, we have to encourage people to do it. We have to take that opportunity. We have to be part of building their visibility, because visibility equals promotion, equals consideration, equals growth.
Absolutely. The personal branding world is like my world. And I've worked with men, I've worked with women. I think that, and I also have worked with staff, and I think it's really what you're saying is so important, to kind of understand where you want to be. You don't need to be shouting off the rooftop, right? You don't need to do that. I call it 0 to 60, but you don't need to do that. But you do need to even asking questions. I feel like a lot of women don't ask questions. They're just, what should I do? What do I need to do today? Let me just check these boxes and go home. And that's not what we're here for. If you really want to propel yourself,
Yeah,
you need to think like a leader.
yeah.
You need to think like a leader. You need to, like, I love the point of, if you have an idea, bring it to the table,
Hmm.
right? It's really important. And that can take the shape of, just if you read something, sharing your opinion on it.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not, it's just, it's a matter of, it's kind of like a mindset shift, right?
yeah.
And I
But
think you can do it at any level.
we have to think about it as part of our regular operating capabilities. I've even suggested to some women that are on my team that are a little bit more, not as outgoing, to just say, that's fine. If you go and you see a presentation and you're part of a group and you see a presentation, afterwards, send the presenter a note and say, I really enjoyed your presentation. Here is something I took away from it. They will remember that
Oh
because
yeah.
you made them feel good, and they remember that you had a smart observation. So you have to find ways that you're comfortable with, but you have to push yourself, because
Yeah.
this is that determining factor for a lot of people in getting a seat at the table, is managing your visibility.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
No, I believe me, I think that it's so important, managing it in the right way.
Yeah.
And that's why I like that you said you have to be planful, because you do need to plan. But I think a lot of it all goes back to, in my opinion, doing personal branding forever is being a good student.
Yeah.
Like, I love what you said. If somebody said to me after a speech, I found this interesting, I would be so happy that someone was listening. So I think listening is so important to showing your visibility, because you want to come across in the right way and show that you're actually doing listening. So I love that. Okay. So talking about women, women and all the things that you do to support the women in your company, are there any specific women's initiatives or women's associations that Guitar Center is a part of? And can you talk about those?
So there's a couple of things that we've done in my tenure here. One of them was we dedicated a major, kind of like event, sales event, an activation to women guitarists. We partnered with She Shreds magazine, which is a
Okay, yeah, I'm
fantastic
familiar.
magazine for women guitarists. And we brought She Shreds and a group of women guitarists into our Hollywood flagship store. And we did a panel. This was about transforming the music industry for women. And we brought together, the press, media, social media, some of our staff, the public, and really talked about what it's like to be a woman guitarist. And we had amazing, amazing talent there. And we want to do more of those opportunities, more of those panel discussions, get the conversation happening. We live streamed it, we put it out in video. It was a great partnership with She Shreds. They actually emceed the event. It was amazing to hear what women have dealt with, and for our staff and our buying staff to hear, this is what women are looking for and support.
Yeah.
Was amazing. And so we want to do more of those opportunities to bring people together. It's the community. Bring people together to hear about people's perspectives. Some of the philanthropic events that we work with, music education is really, really important to us. It is our cornerstone of our philanthropic efforts. We send our director of music education, our VP of music education, to Washington, D.C. with NAMM every year to lobby for music education. And we have a foundation. It's the Guitar Center Music Foundation, and they work on supporting schools and their musical programs and charitable musical programs. We've done collaborations with D'Addario and their foundation, with International Women's Day. We've supported Girls Make Beats, for years through our foundation. We support Girls Inc., the Archer School for Girls, Girls Rock Camp, and Young Women's Leadership School, among lots of others. And our music foundation gives grants, but also does musical instrument donations. We've gone into schools, we've retrofitted their music programs, their drum lines, their bands, their symphonies. We've also supported, nonprofit organizations that help, bring more music capability into schools all the way down to preschool level. So it's a big part of our focus. It's part of our mission. And our mission is about putting more music in the world. That's what we come to work every day to do. And so our philanthropic efforts are really tied to music education and making it available and supported for everybody.
That's wonderful. You guys have your hands in a lot of things, but it's, I think that's the key, is starting young, but also supporting adults, and I feel like going back to your classes, providing opportunities that maybe newer musicians, can come in and learn about. The grants are wonderful. And, I really applaud what you're doing, because I don't think there's other, companies it seems like doing as much in this space and to really help propel music forward. So that's wonderful to hear. And where people can find out about those things through the website as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So
because I'm sure people want to find out more. So.
Yeah, and we'll give you the link for our Guitar Center Music Foundation website, so you can find out more there too.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. I'm just looking through to see if there's anything I haven't asked you. All right. For you personally, I know you talked a lot about what the company stands for, what the company's doing.
Yeah.
So personally, you have, consider anybody in executive position has visibility. And I believe, and I'm sure you believe, that this is, our platform as leaders to make a change and do something. So what is it that what are one or two things that you personally want to achieve as a leader
Mhm.
in general?
So from a personal standpoint, the things that I support today are near and dear to my heart because they will make a meaningful long-term difference for women in business. So there are two charities that I've been involved with for a while now. The first is called 10,000 Degrees.
Hmm.
And 10,000 Degrees is a 501c3 charity that is built to support women and underprivileged youth getting college scholarships, getting acceptance, preparing for their interviews. It is a one-to-one mentorship opportunity to help, get more education into our populace. That's a huge benefit to girls who may not have the
It's
wherewithal.
called 10,000 Degrees. Is that what you said?
10,000 Degrees.
Okay, great.
It's a huge opportunity for girls to get into schools, to understand how to apply, to get considered for financial aid, to get considered for scholarships. This is not an easy path to get into. If you have a family member who's never been to college, this is, and there's a lot of first time, family members in this program getting their first degree. So that's a really important part for me is helping girls, move forward. Education is a big part of that. The second thing I've been involved with, not quite as long, but I'm really excited about where this charity is going, and it's called 81 Cents. So we all know that in the United States, women make 81 cents to every dollar that a man makes.
Right.
Um, and it's been at that level for a long time. And so the thinking had always been address it at the top, address it at the executive level, and then push it down. 81 Cents takes a different approach. They think harder to make it happen at the top. Let's change it at the entry point.
Hmm.
So what they are dedicated to doing is coaching and mentoring girls who come out of school, who are going into their first job on how to negotiate their salaries.
Oh,
All those skills to be able to get women at that entry point on the same footing has a long-term benefit to women across
ooh,
multiple industries.
yeah.
And so those are really, really important to me because I recognize that a lot of my opportunities came because I just pushed hard. I didn't have a lot of guidance early on, and then I found women as mentors that could help me and help me grow. And there are moments, I can name every mentor I've had. There are five that I love dearly. One who's no longer with us, I remember, her name was Jean Varner, and in my most difficult moments, I hear her voice. Get up, get out there,
I love
make
it.
it happen.
Yeah.
You can do it. I can hear her voice. And that with all of the women mentors I've had. And I think we have an obligation to give back to the next generation of women in leadership, to cultivate, to develop them, to help them get education when they need it, to help them negotiate their entry salaries. All of that is really personally important to me, and it's something that I try to deploy in the work that I do, not only here, but in the charities that I support.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I mean, it's important that we, like you said, we are mentors in a way, being an inspiration, being motivated, even just letting other women, like all of the resources that you listed, even letting women know that they're out there so
Mhm.
that they can be unafraid to take those steps because it's hard. I mean, especially if you're, just a college grad going into a job, negotiating a salary. I remember when I was with IBM, I mean, like you said, I just pushed for it, but
Yeah.
there wasn't as much guidance. So I think it's important. I love that that's what you're doing. And it seems like things are changing and changing slowly. I love the 81 cents. I'm constantly involved in New York in all these different women's organizations around that topic. And I didn't even know about it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take that back to some of my women's organizations and let them know about
Yeah.
it.
Highly
Okay.
recommend it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay. So I always ask my guests this question.
Hmm.
What does a warrior women in business mean to you when you hear that term?
It's that's a hard one. I'm not the warrior part of it. I get, the perspective is go out, do it, fight for it. But I also think that we have to do it in our way
Right.
and in a way that works for you. Leverage your skill set. If you're a marketer like me, market yourself. Figure out what you need. It's not about just constantly fighting and battling. It's about showing up. It's about being consistent. It's about advocating for yourself and for other women. It's about finding opportunities that you can add value for people. And so I hope that that's what I am. If that's warrior, then, that's great. But I hope that I'm an advocate. I hope that I'm a mentor. I hope that I provide opportunities for people to think about what they can do.
Well, I'll tell you, I personally have these conversations a lot with women, not just in business, but friends of mine, right?
Yeah.
Who I just friends of mine that I look up to because they're strong females, right?
Mhm.
And what's interesting to me, actually, in the last few years, that I've been learning more and more about, because I grew up as a tomboy, is learning more and more about wielding the power of a female
Mhm.
and doing it in a subtle way.
Yeah.
And so I think I love what you said because it isn't so much about just driving forward, but it's also how you drive forward to support your own individual uniqueness, right? So,
And how you bring people with you.
yeah, like we have a shirt, we have a lot of Warrior Women shirts, and one of them we have is Fly Further with Me. The point is like, I love that your mentor story.
Mhm.
I think it's so important to have a mentor in life.
Yeah.
I think that all women need a mentor, and it could be a man, just someone to help them. It,
Well, and I think we need examples.
yeah,
We need examples, men and women, on,
yeah,
how do you do that? How did you get there? What happened? What did
exactly.
you see? How do I see that?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're gonna go to Q&A from the live stream audience. I actually have on my G chat a whole bunch of questions for you.
Okay. Awesome.
So, first question I have is, what advice would you give to women trying to succeed in a male-dominated industry?
So I'm going to tell you a story because this is one of my favorite things. So my dad, who is now 91 years old, was the father of two girls and a brother to two sisters, and so he's always very, women centric. And I remember when I first started in the beer business, there were no women to speak of, in the management level. And I remember being, relatively new and being at a meeting. It was a, big company-wide meeting, and everybody back then wore suits. So I walk into a room and it is 500 men in blue suits
Wow.
and me. And I thought, gosh, what am I doing here? How do I do this? And it was 2 days of meetings. And that night I called my dad and I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I belong here. And my dad said, you belong, but you don't have to be exactly like everybody in the room. Go back tomorrow and stand
Mm,
out and stand up and let them
okay.
see you. You will be remembered. And just before I hung up the phone, he said, and wear red.
I
And
love
the next day, I went to this meeting of 500 men in blue suits and me in a red suit. And I made a point of networking, having people know who I was, having people meet me, not just blending in, but standing out. And I've never forgotten that. That in that moment, my opportunity was not to be one of and not to fit in, but to be myself and to stand out. And I think if you are working in a male dominated industry, don't be afraid to do that. People will remember you. Think about how you want to be remembered.
I love that. Yeah. I love that he said that. You have a good dad.
That's awesome.
He sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does Guitar Center portray women musicians in social media marketing and communications is the next question.
Okay. So, we we have made it a point to make sure that we include women, diversity, sexual orientation representation, all of that in all of our efforts. So we represent every genre, we represent all musicians of all types. Um, And that is core to what we do, because what we're trying to do is inspire others. And so we have to show people, everybody who can make, who makes music, because that's going to inspire a little girl somewhere, a boy somewhere, a gay youth somewhere. That's going to make a difference to people in feeling like music is a place where they can be part of anything. And so it is germane to what we do. You'll see stories that we have on our website. You'll see videos on our YouTube channel. You'll see posting in our social media and on Instagram and so on, talking about different artists. Every time we demo a new product, we bring in the best artist we can, and oftentimes it's female, or it's an African American artist, or we really want to make sure that we are showing the fabric of music in the work that we do.
I love that. It's very important. And again, that goes back to the modeling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Okay. I have so many questions. Okay. What advice can you give a female entrepreneur who wants to get in music retail on how to best leverage limited resources? So this is more about, I think, an individual business owner who wants to get in the industry and do music retail.
So build their own store, sort of,
Yeah,
through their own website opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it is, it's very difficult right now to start a business, to start, a retail store in inflation and with everything that we're dealing with. But find the niche. Find the thing that speaks to you, that you want to do and you love, and become expert in it. There are opportunities like that all over the place. If you look at some of the trends that are happening, recording, super exciting. There, we're seeing a resurgence in band and orchestra as all of these schools
Oh
come
yeah.
back. And so think about things like, do I want to be, orchestral strings? Do I want to be woodwinds? There's lots of opportunities in these niche to become expert. And whatever you do, whether you open brick and mortar, or you do call center base, or pop up, what have you, use e-commerce as your relevancy, as your reach vehicle. And the other thing I would say is, don't pass the obvious. A lot of people are buying used instruments right now, during this inflationary time period.
Absolutely.
Selling and buying their instruments. Those are opportunities that could become, longer term opportunities. So my suggestion is specialize in something and find the niche and be really, really good at it and build your reputation.
Yeah, there are so many opportunities.
Yeah.
As someone that's an entrepreneur, there's so many opportunities. I write them down every day. So many business ideas. There's so much happening in music, right? Self-recording, like you talked about, all these kind of eBays of, community businesses. There's so much going on. So, okay. What would you say is, okay, I'm going to move on. Hold on. Someone asks, in theory, a musician can learn to play music and fully produce an album through Guitar Center.
I think in theory you absolutely could. So let's say you come in and you want to learn to play an instrument, and you start with guitar. And then once you've got that skill, you want to add percussion. You can do that. We've got all the gear that helps you do that. We can provide you support through our in-store advisors and associates on, the kind of gear you need at different stages. Now you want to record, we can help you with that. You can also watch videos on our website that help you with some of that as well, and what gear to buy and what to select. You can, if you're in Las Vegas or in New York, you can go in and take a recording class or a DJ class if that's what you're interested in. And you can continue to propel with us, and we're here to guide you through that whole process. The one thing that we don't do, but there's lots of resources for, is setting up your business, or how to monetize your business and your taxes and all of that. But there's tons of resources for that. And the best resource for all of us is ask someone who's done it. Like I said, many of our lessons instructors and the people that work in our stores, they've had this experience. And some of them, are currently, doing their own thing in music. I mean, one of the things that I love telling people that we have, because it's such a surprise for people, is we offer gig leave. So if you're a musician and you work for us and you get a gig, or you're going to go on tour, or you need time to go, make it
I
home,
love it.
you take gig leave with us, and your
Love
job
it.
is when you come back. And I love that about our industry. It's so, very specific to what a musician would look for.
Okay. Well, I'd say we only have a couple minutes left. So, um, let's talk about, I have two, well, there's a question someone asked, and I have a question off of it.
Okay.
Specifically for you. So someone asked, do you have performances or battle of the bands type of things at guitar centers?
We obviously through COVID, not something that we could do, and we're still kind of coming, through or out of that. We're reconceptualizing some of the ones that we've done in the past. What do we bring back? What do we not? We just participated with, a TV program called a cover. It's a cover band program. It totally escapes me right now. And so we're supporting some of those. We have a lot of, American Idol, top 10 finishers that have come through our stores, through our lessons. So we know it's part of the business. I love and hate competition, efforts, because I hate the idea of competition as opposed to collaboration. So we're exploring ideas that we could do more of now that COVID is starting to wane. But one of the things that we're also looking at is how do we bring more seminars, workshops into our stores to help people, refine their craft. So that's another event that we're working on. Um, Truthfully, any opportunity that we can bring people together in the community, we want to do that. So I think you'll see us doing something with competitions maybe in 2023,
Okay.
but stay tuned. Now
Okay,
that
cool.
we get there, we can do it
Yeah,
safely.
no, believe me, I understand. Okay, so another question, which is, it's indirectly related to what you do in your business, but it's very, 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 very important and something that we talk about a lot. Musical performers, as women in the music business industry.
Mhm.
I just wanted your opinion if you're keen to share this.
Okay.
So the performance opportunities and musicians playing at venues, that landscape has changed quite a bit since COVID.
Mhm.
There's just the highest demand and lower supply. And so it's become this pay to play environment.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of my guests on JSM for Artists webinar and on this have opinions. I just want to know what your opinion is on that, if any,
Yeah.
and where you can see that maybe changing in the future.
So I would go back a little step, and I would say, the way that artists are compensated has changed so much over the last few years because of, the way that people get their music through streaming, making live performance more important, as a revenue generator. I don't necessarily have the detail on the live performance capabilities and costs and all of that, but what I would say is typically artists have to find ways to monetize their work.
Mhm.
Artists have to find ways to protect the work that they do, but also sell themselves out there. I think that live performance is important, but so is recording, so is streaming, so is your visibility in social media. All of that helps sell your music. And what we have to think about for the industry is how to make that fair and equitable so the value of your intellectual property and your performance capability is recognized. That's the only way that people will stay in the business, grow in the business, and come into the business, is if it's beneficial and equitable for the performer as much as it is for the streamer or the venue or the promoter. And so that's what we have to fight for. And here's what I would say. Even if you're a musician and you don't think you need to know this, learn how to negotiate
Absolutely.
so that you can take
I
care
tell
of you.
all our band clients because it's like, oh, I can play. This is great. I'm willing to do this. And so on JSM for Artists, we had a webinar with the DC Compliance Act and a couple of other law firms all around owning your intellectual property and understanding the value of it. And I think that ties into this. I believe that, the industry is changing. And I love what you said about how an artist or musician can come in and kind of honestly create their own music business through the opportunities through Guitar Center. And I think that this is the way that musicians need to think more than it's not up to them. It is up to them, right?
Yeah,
To make
it
their
is.
careers.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So we only have 1 minute left. So first of all the resources that Jeannine shared with us, we will share later in the chat. We'll provide an edited version of this podcast as well, all through the Warrior Women Business and JSM for Artists channels. So with that being said, if anyone, especially the women here that are looking for, are really looking for mentors and advice, how can anyone get in touch with you?
So probably the easiest way is connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm usually pretty good about keeping up to speed there. You can reach us through our senior manager of PR, which is Savitra Perryman, but just go to media@guitarcenter.com. You can definitely reach us that way. Um, we'll put links out there and ways that you can get in touch, and even if you're interested in jobs, we'll get those links for you too. And the other thing that I would say is, message me on LinkedIn. Tell me what's going on with you. I love to connect people together. If I know somebody in an industry that is got that strength and connect, I will do that. And what I give advice to people all the time is when you're applying for jobs, don't just apply for a job. Your application is going to get lost in the shuffle. Reach out on LinkedIn to find the recruiter for that company, message them, market yourself, make people aware of you, network, find those contacts, because that's how you get your application and your opportunity pulled out of that sea of other applications, the hundreds of applications that come in, and gets you noticed. And so that's what I would suggest for anybody looking to build their career in this industry, but also get in touch with us here at Guitar Center.
Thank you, Jeannine. That's very generous of you, honestly. This is what women need. We need the support. We need the help. So I want to thank you so much for being on today. For honestly a lot of great advice with your years of experience. Also, I love what you're doing at Guitar Center. I really didn't know I just shopped there. So I didn't know all of the programs. I'm sure Warrior Women would love to in any way help to provide a panel or help with any kind of educational program you guys want to do. I think it would be awesome, both for female musicians as well as women working in the music business industry. I think that's wonderful. For those of you that want to learn more about Warrior Women in Business, it's warriorwomenbusiness.com. The link is in the chat. We are expanding to Los Angeles in 2023, so look out for events. Specifically, we are all about, just like Guitar Center, we're all about education and mentorship. This is really the way to build your careers, whether it's in the music industry or another industry. So love for you to stay in touch. Again, my name is Jasmine Sandler. I want to thank Guitar Center and their team for making this happen today. And with that, we're signing off episode 36. Look out for an email with a recording of this episode and more resources. Thank you so much, Jeannine.
You bet. Thank you.